There comes a moment in every chosen one's journey when the waiting ends. The trials, the silent battles, the nights of questioning. It all leads to a single moment of fulfillment. And that moment is now. Tonight, heaven and earth align to declare, you passed. You were never forgotten. Every challenge was preparation. Every delay was divine strategy. You held on when others let go. You believed when reason told you not to. And now, the breakthrough you've prayed for, fought for, waited for, it will happen tonight. Everything you have endured has led to this moment. Not a single tear, not a single disappointment, not a single delay was wasted. You may have wondered why things took longer than expected, why doors that seemed perfect for you remained shut, why the prayers you whispered in the quiet of the night felt like they went unanswered. But what if I told you that nothing was being withheld from you, only prepared for you? What if the waiting wasn't punishment, but protection? What if every moment of delay was actually divine strategy working in your favor? There is something about divine timing that no human mind can fully grasp. We measure life in days, weeks, and years, but God moves outside of time. He sees the end from the beginning, orchestrating every detail so that when your moment comes, nothing is missing, nothing is lacking. If you had received the blessing before you were ready, it could have crushed you. If you had walked through the door before the right people were in place, it wouldn't have lasted. There were unseen battles being fought on your behalf, things you didn't even know about, forces that would have tried to snatch what was meant for you had it come too soon. Think about the moments you thought were your breakthrough, times when you were convinced that this was it, only for things to fall apart. The job you thought was your big break, the relationship you thought would last, the opportunity that slipped through your fingers. At the time, it felt like loss, but looking back, you can see that those things weren't rejections. The hands of heaven were moving things around, ensuring that what is truly meant for you arrives at the perfect time. And that time is now. Tonight is not just another night. It is the moment when everything shifts. You have endured the test, walked through the fire, and refused to give up. The waiting season is over. Every moment of faith, every step of obedience, every painful sacrifice, it was all leading to this. You may not have seen the full picture while you were in the process, but the pieces are coming together now. The doors that were once locked will open effortlessly. The prayers that once felt unheard will be answered so clearly, it will leave you speechless. The breakthrough that seemed distant is now standing at your doorstep. There is a divine rhythm to life, a pattern in which all things move according to God's perfect will. And when your appointed time arrives, nothing can stop it. You don't have to force it, chase it, or beg for it. You only have to walk into it. This is the moment when the waiting turns into fulfillment, when the prophecy over your life becomes reality. The struggle was not in vain. The pain was not wasted. The tears were not ignored. Heaven has been watching, counting every sacrifice, measuring every ounce of faith. And now, the moment you have been preparing for is finally here. Tonight, the heavens will declare it. The earth will bear witness to it. The spiritual forces that once opposed you will bow to it. Because when divine timing is at hand, no power in existence can delay it any longer. This is your moment. This is your time. It will happen tonight. You were always meant to win, not by accident, not by chance, but by divine design. From the very beginning, before you ever faced a battle, before you ever knew struggle, Before you even understood what it meant to fight, your victory was already written. The trials were never meant to break you. The obstacles were never meant to destroy you. Every challenge was placed in your path not to stop you, but to reveal the power that was always within you. There were moments that tested you beyond what you thought you could bear. Moments when the weight of life pressed so heavily on you that you questioned if you would make it through. Nights when you laid awake, wondering if you had the strength to keep going, wondering if you were truly chosen or if you had somehow gotten it all wrong. And yet, despite the doubts, despite the fear, despite the voices that told you to give up, you didn't. Something deep inside you refused to quit. Something in you knew that there was more to your story, that the battle wasn't the end, but the proving ground for what was coming next. What you didn't realize at the time was that every hardship, every rejection, every setback was refining you. Like gold in the fire, you were being purified, your faith strengthened, your endurance tested. You see, winning isn't just about reaching the finish line. It's about becoming the person who can handle the victory when it comes. And God wasn't just preparing the blessing for you. He was preparing you for the blessing. He was shaping you into someone who could carry the weight of what's coming next. Many people fall when the pressure rises. They shrink back, they let fear win. They abandon the promise because the road looks too hard. But not you. You kept going. You kept believing when it made no sense. You stood when others walked away. You fought for what was yours, even when you had nothing left but faith. That is why you were always meant to win, because you never let the fight change your purpose. You never let the hardship make you forget who you were. And now the reward of your endurance is here. The moment you have been waiting for has arrived. The very thing that tried to break you only built you up. The storm that was meant to take you out only pushed you closer to destiny. Every time you thought you were losing, you were actually winning. Every battle that felt like defeat was strengthening your spirit, sharpening your wisdom, making you ready for the doors that are about to open before you. You were never forgotten. The pain was never overlooked. The struggle was never pointless. There is a reason you made it through what others could not. There is a reason why, when everything in you wanted to quit, something greater inside you said, "Keep going." That was the mark of someone who was never meant to fail. That was the proof that you were always meant to win. And now, the victory that was promised is unfolding before you. You will see why the process was necessary. You will understand why the waiting was not wasted. You will realize that you were never losing. You were only being positioned. And now, it is your time. The struggle has passed. The doors are opening. The promise is here. And nothing, absolutely nothing, can stop what was always meant to be yours. Faith is the final doorway. It is not logic, not strength, not even perseverance alone that brings you to the promise. It is faith, the kind of faith that makes no sense, the kind that defies reason, the kind that stands firm when everything around you suggests otherwise. Faith is the force that carries you across the threshold from waiting to fulfillment, from uncertainty to certainty, from promise to possession, and you pass the test. There were times when it would have been easier to give up, times when your prayers seemed to echo into silence, times when the enemy whispered, "It's not going to happen, you're wasting your time," but you refused to listen. Even when doubt knocked at the door of your mind, even when fear tried to grip your heart, something in you held on. Maybe you didn't feel strong. Maybe you questioned whether you had enough faith, but the truth is, faith isn't measured by how loud you shout or how bold you appear. It is measured by your willingness to trust. even in the smallest, most fragile moments. And you did. You kept believing when there was no proof. You kept walking when you couldn't see the road ahead. You kept expecting when everything around you seemed to scream otherwise. And that was the test. Could you hold on when it didn't make sense? Could you trust even when you couldn't trace the outcome? Could you believe even when all evidence suggested that you were forgotten? And you did. That's why this moment is different. That's why this night is unlike any other. What you were waiting for is now waiting for you. What you thought was delayed was only being prepared for the right time. And because you held on, because you refused to let go of your faith, you have stepped into that moment. Doors that were once locked are now swinging open. Answers that once seemed distant are now rushing toward you. The very thing you believed for, prayed for, waited for, it is here. Faith has always been the currency of the unseen. The world says, see it, then believe it. But the chosen ones know it is the opposite. Believe it, and then you will see it. Your faith was never wasted. Every time you spoke life into a dead situation, every time you chose to hope when everything seemed hopeless, every time you trusted when there was nothing to hold on to, you were moving mountains in the unseen realm. And now, what was once invisible is becoming visible. Look around. Do you feel it? The shift is happening. The air is different. The weight that was once on your shoulders is lifting. That's because the fight is over. You have already won. The promise is no longer a far-off dream. It is unfolding right before you. The tests are complete. The trials have served their purpose. You have walked the path of faith. And now you stand at the doorway of destiny. Nothing can stop what is already written. No opposition can delay what has been ordained. And because you believed, because you refused to let doubt win, you will see it happen. Tonight, destiny is unfolding now, not tomorrow, not next week, not someday in the distant future, now. Everything that once felt slow, delayed, or out of reach is suddenly moving into position. The pieces are aligning, the doors are unlocking, and the path that once seemed unclear is now wide open before you. And the most incredible part? This was always the plan. It never changed, the promise never shifted, the dream never died. What felt like stillness was actually divine orchestration. Every season of waiting, every moment of struggle, every tear, every unanswered prayer, it all had a purpose. You thought nothing was happening, but behind the scenes, heaven was at work. The right people were being moved into place. The wrong ones were being removed. The perfect timing was being set, because what is meant for you is too great to arrive at the wrong time. If you had received it too soon, you wouldn't have been ready. The weight of the blessing would have been too heavy. The responsibility that comes with elevation requires strength, wisdom, and endurance. That's why the process took time, because you weren't just waiting for destiny to unfold, you were being shaped for it. Every trial refined you. Every setback made you stronger. Every delay built your character. And now, the moment that once seemed far away is standing before you. You don't have to force it. You don't have to chase it. When destiny unfolds, it flows effortlessly. Opportunities that once felt impossible will present themselves without struggle. Connections that seemed out of reach will come to you naturally. The things you once fought for, prayed for, wept over, will now come looking for you, because the time is now. This is not a moment of coincidence. It is a moment of divine alignment. Every challenge you faced was preparing you for this. Every door that closed was directing you here. Every disappointment was setting the stage for something greater than you imagined. And now, as you stand at the threshold, all you have to do is step forward. There is no more waiting. There is no more delay. The battles you once faced are behind you. The doubts that once haunted you no longer have a voice. The version of you that struggled in uncertainty is gone. Because you have passed the test, you have proven that you can endure, that you can believe, that you can trust when there is no evidence. And now, evidence is all around you. Look closely. You can feel the shift in the air. You can sense that something is different. That's because this is the moment. The season of preparation is over, and the season of fulfillment has begun. The manifestation is happening now. What you have been waiting for is no longer coming. It has arrived. Destiny is not a distant hope. It is here. It is unfolding. And because you refused to give up, because you chose faith over fear, because you endured the waiting season, it is yours. The heaven-backed celebration has already begun. The moment you chose to trust even when it made no sense, the moment you stood firm when everything in you wanted to quit, heaven took notice. Every act of faith, every silent prayer, every unseen sacrifice was counted. And now the reward of your endurance is unfolding before you. This is not just a personal victory. It is a divine triumph, one that heaven itself is rejoicing over. From the very beginning you were watched over. Not a single struggle was ignored. Not one tear fell unnoticed. The weight of your battles was fully known, and yet you were never abandoned. Heaven stood with you in every difficult moment, strengthening you when you felt weak, whispering encouragement when you felt like giving up. You may not have heard it, but the angels were already celebrating your breakthrough long before you ever saw it. They knew what was coming. They knew the promises over your life were sure. And now, that unseen celebration is becoming visible in your life. This is a moment of divine recognition, not just by the people around you, but by the forces of heaven. You passed the test that many would have failed. You endured what many would have run from. And because you remained faithful, because you continued to believe, because you refused to let go of what was promised to you, you have stepped into the fulfillment of destiny. The celebration isn't just because something is happening to you. It is because something has happened within you. You are no longer who you used to be. The fire refined you. The waiting shaped you. The battles strengthened you. And now, the version of you standing here today is the one who is ready to receive. There were moments when you questioned if all the effort was worth it. You wondered if your faith was in vain, if the struggle would ever end. But what you didn't see was that every moment of waiting was an investment in your future. Every act of faith was building something eternal. And now, the return is here. The prayers you whispered in the dark are now being answered in the light. The promises you held on to in private are now being revealed in public. The things you once dreamed about are now becoming reality. The celebration is not just about what you have received, but about what has been secured. The doors that are opening now are permanent. The breakthrough that is happening is unshakable. What is being released to you is not temporary, it is eternal. You are not stepping into a fleeting moment of victory. You are stepping into a new reality, one where favor follows you, one where opportunities seek you out, one where what once seemed impossible is now effortless. And the greatest part, this is just the beginning. What is unfolding now is not the peak, but the foundation for even greater things. The heavens are celebrating because they see what is ahead. things beyond what you have even imagined, blessings beyond what you have prayed for, influence beyond what you expected. The doors that are opening now are only the first of many. So stand tall, walk forward with confidence. The struggle is over. The season of testing is complete. The heavens have declared it. You passed, and now it's time to receive. There is a moment when everything shifts, a moment when the struggle is no longer the defining story, when the waiting season gives way to fulfillment, when the unseen becomes undeniable. That moment is now. The forces that once stood against you have no power anymore. The battles that once seemed endless are over. What was resisting you has been removed. The weight that once made every step feel impossible has lifted. You are no longer in the fight. You are in the victory. There were times when it felt like the enemy had the upper hand. Times when opposition surrounded you, when nothing seemed to go right, when every step forward felt met with resistance. But what you didn't see was that heaven was watching. Not one hardship went unnoticed. Not one attack against you was ignored. And while it may have seemed like the enemy was winning, what was really happening was divine positioning. The opposition wasn't stopping you. It was preparing you. It was sharpening your faith, strengthening your spirit, making you ready for what was coming. But the opposition has lost. The things that once held you back no longer have a say in your story. The chains that once bound you have been broken. The delays, the distractions, the barriers, they are gone. The pressure that once surrounded you was not meant to crush you, but to push you into your next level. And now you have stepped into it. There is nothing standing in your way anymore. Heaven has ruled in your favor. The victory was always yours, but now it is being revealed. You are stepping into the moment where everything shifts. The promises that once felt distant are now being placed in your hands. The breakthroughs you have prayed for are now becoming reality. The doors that once refused to open are now swinging wide. And no one can stop it. No force, no person, no circumstance can undo what heaven has already established. There is a celebration happening on your behalf. The angels who walked with you in the storm are now rejoicing with you in the blessing. They knew this moment was coming. They saw it before you did. When you were questioning, when you were doubting, when you were wondering if you had been forgotten, they knew. They knew that your faith would be rewarded. They knew that your endurance would be honored, and now you know it too. Look around, do you see it? The signs are everywhere. The things that once seemed impossible are now unfolding before your eyes. You don't have to strive for it. You don't have to fight anymore. The hardest part is over. What remains is simply to step into it, to take hold of what is yours, to walk through the doors that have been opened for you, to receive what was always meant to be yours. This is a moment that cannot be reversed. The decision has been made in heaven. The victory has been sealed. The breakthrough is happening now. Not tomorrow, not next week. Now. The waiting season is over. The struggle is complete. The promise is here. And no power in existence can stop it. So stand in confidence. Walk boldly into this next chapter. You passed. The fight is finished. The doors are open. And now, all of heaven is watching as you step into the greatest season of your life. It will happen tonight. You have stepped into a moment that was always meant to happen. Everything that tried to stop you has failed. Every obstacle that stood in your way has crumbled. Every delay, every disappointment, every hardship that once made you question whether this moment would ever come was never powerful enough to cancel what was already written about you. And now it is here. The promise, the breakthrough, the shift. Everything is aligning because it was destined to. There were seasons when you questioned, when the waiting felt endless, when it seemed like nothing was changing, no matter how much you prayed, no matter how much you believed. But what you didn't realize was that everything was changing. The movement was happening beneath the surface, beyond what your eyes could see. The pieces were being arranged, the foundation was being built, and you were being positioned for this very moment. Nothing was wasted. Not one prayer, not one tear, not one moment of faith was ignored. It was all leading here. Now, the shift is undeniable. The doors that were once locked are standing open before you. The opportunities that once seemed far away are being placed in your hands. The things that once resisted you are now working in your favor, because the time has come. This was not something you had to force. This was not something you had to chase. It was always coming to you, exactly when it was meant to. And now that it is here, nothing can take it away. No fear, no doubt, no outside force can undo what has already been declared. This is not just a temporary victory. It is permanent. The level you have stepped into is not one you will lose. The favor that is being poured over you is not something that will fade. The elevation that is happening now is not something that can be reversed. It is sealed. There is a confidence rising within you now, not because of what you see, but because of what you know. Because deep down, something inside you recognizes this moment. Your spirit already knows that this was always meant for you, that you are not fighting in vain, that you are not waiting in vain, that the preparation was worth it, because what is coming is greater than what you imagined. You are no longer in a season of asking. You are in a season of receiving. The struggle is behind you. The waiting is over. The promise is unfolding right before your eyes. And there is no need to hesitate, no need to wonder if it's really happening. It is. And all that's left for you to do now is step into it fully. This moment is not just about what you are gaining. It is about who you have become. The version of you that doubted, that hesitated, that questioned whether you were worthy of this blessing, that version is gone. You have been refined. You have been strengthened. You have been made ready. And now you are standing in the fulfillment of what was always yours. Nothing will be the same after tonight. The shift is here. The breakthrough is happening. The promise is unfolding. And you passed. Heaven has declared it. Destiny has confirmed it. And all that is left for you to do is receive it.